Regular meeting? Yeah. All right. Well, call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You do the roll call?
Absolutely. Commissioner Diphdo,
Here.
Commissioner Cronin. Here. Commissioner Wire,
Here.
Commissioner Shaw,
Here.
and Mr. Mayor Lindsay.
Here. Okay, this agenda for today is to look at strategic plan progress. Do we have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Motion just adopt agenda.
Yep.
Yeah, the motion to interview. Okay.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right,
First item for business. So as a recap, we've got 3 items today for our first planning meeting. The first is gonna be an update on strategic planning progress. I think I'll start by sharing my screen so that anybody online can see that as well. So within the agenda packet, we included some snapshots of a dashboard that we use internally to track strategic planning progress. So that's available for the public. I also printed off and distributed to the commission here, kind of a summary of the main items of progress for our plan, and there are a few extra copies here. Pass over to Amy, if anybody wants to, they can come up. So our strategic plan is a 3-year document that is through the year 2026. And this is the first update we've given to the city commission. And there's 5 pillars of content within the strategic plan. I'll jump right in with the first one, prioritizing community engagement. This focuses on communication, engagement with our residents and our constituents. And we've had a number of progress here. There are 4 goals, and on the dashboard, if you look through this, you can see that each of those goals has a number of strategies, and it tracks which ones we started on, which ones we haven't, and which ones we've completed, and then which ones are still priorities for us moving forward. The primary stuff that I'll point out for this one is we have hired a communications marketing coordinator, Savannah. She's done a fantastic job for the city, and you've likely seen a lot of changes and a lot more communication coming from the city. And that'll be our second topic for today as well, so I'll try not to go too deep into that. Savannah has worked on establishing brand standards, also something that she'll be discussing as well. We've talked about internally about holding a state of the city address. That is something that is within the strategic plan that the mayor would be providing on an annual basis. We haven't decided when would be the time that we do the first one, but that is something that we're looking at starting. And then we have always had an employee appreciation event, and this year's we held ours in April, and we did a little bit more fanfare to it, and we had it up at the Playhouse and had a nice meal, and I think employees really appreciated that event. Another part of this pillar is to identify some community gathering places with a long-term goal of moving that into some placemaking efforts, likely to end up in our downtown. And so we have worked on identifying some of those community gathering places as well. Those are some of the things I'd point out about our community engagement one, and without diving too deep into and stealing Savannah's thunder that she'll be talking about in a little bit. That's kind of what I wanted to cover, but is there any questions on the community engagement? As you look through the plan, anything that sticks out to you?
not at this point for me.
Okay, I'll keep on driving forward. The second pillar is strengthening collaboration. We've very fortunate to have a number of excellent partners in our community, and they have been involved with not just the creation of the strategic plan, but now we have quarterly meetings with that group to talk about the progress and to work together, not just as a city, but as a community. And so this pillar really gets at a lot of what some of those other groups are helping us with as well. Some items of note would be that we are continuing to partner with Lake County on applying for grant funding to reconstruct the bypass. That would be certainly a very large project, and we're hoping to find out either this summer or fall on whether we are successful in that grant funding. We've also partnered with the LAIC and as well as Lake County on the industrial park expansion. Something that we've, of course, talked about in past meetings. LAIC is driving that, and that I think really speaks towards the collaboration that we are seeing with our partners as well. And I mentioned that we formalized our implementation group for the plan. So from the group that helped create the plan to the group that we have now, a little bit of changes there. We did add a representative who lives out on the lake and can speak towards some of the residents in our surrounding area. And we've also added a representative from Lake County government who can help with our planning implementation. And the last thing to note is, of course, we are starting our quarterly planning sessions with this being the first one, and that was part of something that came from the strategic plan. Questions on this pillar? Okay, the
Questions or comments from the audience? Those that are here.
strong staff showing today. Happy to see it. So. I'm gonna pause for a second since I'm running the Zoom, make sure that we don't have anybody trying to jump on. Okay. Third pillar is addressing critical needs. This one is somewhat of an umbrella for a lot of the important projects that we already know are going in town, such as infrastructure and other things. And there's certainly been a lot of progress on addressing those needs. One thing that came from the strategic plan is consolidating a housing resources list that could be available on our website. And so the chamber took the lead on that, and they gathered together all the resources for people who are interested in renting a house in Madison or buying a house. And then Savannah has put that onto the city website and finalized that. So we will be able to advertise that if anybody is looking for housing resources, we can have one webpage that they can go to, and we'll be keeping up to date.
And one of the things, and that I'd like to put on that as a note too. We are getting a number of VRBOs in town. And it was brought to my attention that one of them is right down in a construction zone. And there was difficulty for the people who had rented it from Illinois to get in and out. So it would be nice to see if we could find out how many people in that have VRBOs and where their locations are. That would just be nice from the standpoint that you don't have a resident there all the time. And I mean, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of police protection, fire protection. You know, if one of those were to get broken into, or, you know, something happened in that, you know, so that we know that it's either an occupied or non-occupied home. So typically VRBOs are non-occupied a good share of the time. No.
And your thoughts on the housing resource?
That's on the chamber's website, or
It is on the city website, and since I have my computer right here, let me just find that. Savannah, can you remind me which tab we put it under?
Under our community.
Yeah, that makes sense. Madison Housing Resources right under the community tab. And there you can get access to realtor sites, listings, and then we also have property management. So a lot of these property management companies are often the best ones to go to if you're looking to rent. We have a landlord list because there are some landlords out there that only have a few properties, and they can be added to that as well. And this is something that we're going to be trying to keep updated throughout the year.
And we do have a number of landlords that do not live within the city, and so that's nice to be aware of too.
Yeah, just to touch on that VRBO and Airbnb stuff, I wasn't aware of that, but is there any other ordinances we should be looking at as a governing body with that?
There are a number of cities that have ordinances out there, and you know, I bring it up, you know, if it's something that we want to look into, and that I would definitely encourage it. Because then that gives us an idea of what other towns have done or what other towns are doing,
Right,
you know. So I know we have one right below us on 9th Street now that just recently became, you know, it's either Airbnb or VRBO, one way or the other. But I wasn't aware of the one that was brought to my attention last week. Happens to be at Southwest 4th and Union, right where we've got the major construction. And the people called me and they had rented it and came from Illinois for a family reunion. You know, and so, getting in and out of there, and that the contractors helped them and that, but, it was a house that's been sitting vacant and I didn't know, the story behind it until then. And so we may have other homes that appear to be empty, no one living there that could be listed, that way as well. And I think from a standpoint of the city, it'd be nice for us to be aware of that. Especially for, like I say, our police and fire departments. So,
There are a number of cities that have ordinances related to VRBOs, some of the larger cities, but then I think most particularly out in the hills where there's a lot more tourism and they're a lot more prevalent. So some governments, local governments decide to pass certain regulations on those. I'm hearing from the mayor that you'd be interested in tracking when they're
knowing,
occupied or.
yeah,
Okay.
just basically knowing that this home here, is not a, full-time family resident. Or a rental that's gonna have people in it all the time, just knowing,
Would that be any different than anybody who has a second home on the lake?
possibly not. Possibly not, so.
I think there's a lot of homes in Madison that are second homes is what I'm
Mhm.
getting at. So how you differentiate between an Airbnb or VRBO versus, you're setting a mandate that may not be equal.
And we could, include that also, a home that, just. It just seems like if you watch the news and that, there's so many more break-ins and things like this. It would be nice to know that, hey, that person doesn't live in that house full time. And if something happens there, it gives our police and our fire and that, and I think a little bit more opportunity to reach out and contact the homeowner and say, hey, it appears this may have happened or. So,
Okay, I'll make a note of doing some research on VRBOs. Any other questions on the housing? Some other key notes on this pillar would be, of course, the Early Learning Center. The LAIC is leading the progress on construction of that center on Highland Avenue. The city is maintained as a key partner. City is redesigning Egan Avenue for reconstruction 25 and 26. That's identified here as a critical need. And then we have a lot of other infrastructure projects, as you know, from our project updates. We've completed the 3 projects from RRD funding, and then we're working on 7 different segments from SRF funding currently. Northeast 3rd Street is finished, Park Creek Walls. These are all items that were broadly referenced in the strategic plan that we need to continue working towards in infrastructure improvements. That kind of wraps up our critical needs.
Yeah, I think just to comment on that too, I think for future planning too, and I haven't sent this to you, Jameson, maybe we need to revisit the capital improvement plan as well and go through that. I think it's from December of 2022, but that would be another thing that we should maybe look at and reprioritize as things change, so.
Yeah, I'd agree. That was set as a 5-year plan, but we knew that the latter years in that plan were light because things changed too quickly to plan too far ahead. And I know that the engineering department is updating the IIB, the infrastructure improvement plan, which is tied more closely to the reconstructions and the utility projects we've got going. So, yeah, those are 2 things that are on our page. The 4th pillar is related to enhancing quality of life. There are 5 goals associated to this one. Key things I'd point out that we've made progress on. One thing that's laid out in the plan is whether our downtown businesses and downtown core area should have some sort of entity that is specifically designed towards supporting those businesses. And the chamber has held an initial meeting with downtown business owners to gather feedback on what they would think about establishing some kind of entity to support them as businesses. We would envision at this point in time that it likely would manifest in a committee from the chamber, but something that would give them more specific attention and that they could work together as business owners with partners on areas of interest for them and things that they'd like to see the downtown growing into. So that we've had the initial meeting on what that might look like, and we expect to have more to follow. There's also been some initial discussions on late night food options. The plan identified that a lot of residents gave feedback that there's certain nights of the week when they would like to have more options for food. And whether that's the typical resident that is looking for evening activities, or something that we heard a lot about is shift workers who are manufacturing companies that might get off at a later hour and they still want to have some place to stop and have some a meal to finish off the night before they go home. So there've been initial discussions on that. We haven't concluded anything. Ultimately, it's up to the businesses to decide when their hours are, and they're usually pretty good at experimenting, trying to find better ways to, grow their business and to have more sales. And if they've found that there's some days don't pay, it's hard to convince them to try it again or do anything different. But that is something that we've discussed, and we're certainly open to feedback on how can we help our businesses or coordinate with them to allow more late night food options. On a similar note, the chamber has Food Truck Mondays, which they've organized at Library Park that runs through the summer. And so that's something that has helped to provide some more food options on Mondays throughout the summer. We've created our recreation trails master plan, and we've applied for initial round of funding to extend a trail around the fishing pond. And so that's related to our quality of life pillar. And then the final note is that we are constructing bathrooms at Memorial and Tolland Parks. Also something that was identified in the plan through furthering value and assets at our parks. Anything on quality of life?
I know I brought it up before, Jameson, but it would be nice to partner with the VFW and the Legion, and during Veterans Day, Memorial Day, whatever the case may be, those banners that we have around town, honoring our veterans and somehow developing banners that, identify our veterans in the community.
Yeah, I've seen that in some other towns. Is that kind of what you're thinking of? Yeah, any other thoughts on that? Discussion?
It has been discussed at the VFW, I know.
Not bad with Flag Day or.
Mike, do you know offhand about when we buy more banners? I want to say 6 or 7 grand. Is that number right?
Yeah, that's about what it is.
Or was that the split cost when we were splitting? I can't remember.
I know, nobody's split it with us.
Okay,
We paid for full.
okay. I feel like, yeah, 6 to 7 grand,
It takes
especially
about
for,
2 days to do the banners through town.
okay, that was my next question. Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any idea with other cities? I could certainly reach out if they leave those up for a week, a month, season.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much.
I'm not aware either.
I just saw, I was up in Minnesota somewhere about 2 weeks ago and they were still up. I wonder if they don't put them up at like Memorial Day and then leave them up through Flag Day maybe. And then take them down.
Sure.
But Coleman does the graduating class, senior graduating class. Trying to think where else, what else has. Some of them advertise different attractions inside the community, like the aquatic center on one, the community center on another one, Buckland Park. Or see that.
Yeah, and this might be a good timing conversation because I want to say that our banners are probably in their 3rd year,
They're
the summer banners.
Third or 4th year,
Yeah,
and the
I think
wind has beat them up pretty good, they went through that storms and.
Sounds
It's about time, probably to budget for something.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if it falls under quality of life, but I do think it's something I need to take a look at.
Yeah, it's related to something in the plan. I don't remember where it fell, but we also talked about banners for DSU. Once Egan Avenue is completed to establish that corridor to the campus.
I liked your thought of highlighting the different options and things for quality of life that Madison has. In the swimming pool and the community center. I like that idea.
I've seen that in other communities. And I like that idea with veterans, anything you do it for the veterans, I'm all for.
Is that typically budgeted through Parks and Rec? Or Parks? Or Street?
I think the park department paid for them last time. But the chamber at one time was gonna split the cost with us. So. But they never did, so.
Anything else on quality of life? All right, the last pillar is more specific to us as an organization internally, and that's investing in city workforce. There are 3 goals associated with that one. We have completed 2 to 4 leadership trainings for all city employees. All of them were in 4, and then I'd say about half of them were in additional, all of them were in 2, and about half of them were in an additional 2. These are leadership trainings with Rick Melmer. These trainings included a DISC personality assessment, general strategies for working effectively, conflict resolution, leading teams, and similar topics. And so we've completed all 4 of those and are, keeping in mind ideas for further employee training and development. Also, as looking at internal organization, our commission here approved our policies and procedures document a couple weeks ago that oversee operations for the city commission. And we've created a couple additional employee committees on benefits and engagement, and we've used input from employees in those committees to update our benefits and to have more engagement activities for our employees. And a note that we are working on a comprehensive update of our personnel policy manual, and also looking at creating an employee portal that can go on our website that provides employees with easy access to relevant documents and resources that they might need. Discussion on pillar 5?
Maybe a comment on all the pillars, but,
Sure.
what's our plan to track or measure? Are you gonna put metrics together? What, how do you see that going? Or what are you thinking there?
Are you looking at tracking completion of the plan or
I
tracking
don't
the
know.
impact of the plan?
Any of it?
Yeah,
Both probably.
we have, and like I said, the dashboard that was included in the agenda packet, this is through smart sheets that we have used internally to keep track of the plan and the progress. There's been some thoughts in my head of whether we can try to make that to be an external thing as well, so that the public could view what progress we've made on that.
Share milestones, it'd be nice to see that, throughout completion of whatever,
Yeah, and maybe it'd be as simple as each strategy, and next to it is the box that says completed or in progress, or most latest progress, trying to keep it simple so that people can still have access to seeing our progress on that. I'm open to
I
whatever
don't know if you
ideas.
want just a number, but kind of an explanation of what's at as well, so there's some meaning behind that. Benchmark or threshold, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah,
Done up to date and.
I like that idea. Okay, I think that wraps up our update on the progress for our strategic plan. Any other questions, discussion?
How about the survey you sent out? How's that going?
The value survey.
Mhm.
I looked last week and we had 180 responses. I haven't looked at it this week. I'm trying to send it out to people more to see if we can't get some more responses there. It's, I definitely encourage people to take it. It's a 1-question survey, takes about 60 seconds or less.
Take it out.
Yeah.
There was just shy of 200 this morning when I looked.
Yeah, I definitely would like to get more on that survey.
Hmm.
And I want to see it open for another week.
Is there any plans to send out a reminder?
Okay, that's all I got for that item.
Another survey question maybe for Nate, how's that lead survey coming?
Last I checked, I can't remember what I tell you, James, we're
65%?
65%. You're in struggle now.
Yeah.
Now's gonna be a grind, so. They're doing everything they can, hanging door hangers.
Probably past the survey point, it's a one-on-one.
Everybody will need that special attention, so.
Yeah.
And it'll still be a grind.
Do you know if a lot of it is rentals or if there's a distinction between the two?
I have no idea. I can inquire about that, get you some answers, so.
Because with the number of the rental owners living out of town, that may be, whoever the renter is may say, well, that's not my, job to do, so.
I can look into that.
I do think that's partial of the glitch, because when I went to do ours, it does like my main house, but then I can't pull up the other houses to do them. So I do think that's probably one of the issues. It says like I've already been assigned a property or whatever, like I can't pick a different one.
So that's.
So that could be one of it.
Good feedback. I'll dig into that and have some conversations.
Now, my understanding is this is gonna affect future funding opportunities, right? So is there critical
Mhm.
timelines that we need to be focused on to
Gotta be done by end of the year.
End of the
There
day.
are,
end of the year?
yeah.
Okay.
But we don't wanna get down to have between Thanksgiving and Christmas and have 30% to do either, so. Question on this now. Who would we have going door to door? I mean, do we have an opportunity to bring in someone else to, assist in that? Or are we really gonna rely primarily on our internal employees?
Currently, you're relying on your water distribution operators and they have time between projects and everything else they got going, so. They try to schedule them the best they can with the door hangers and that's, they schedule, try and get it in mixed and they get out there when they can, so.
I guess my thought just basically went to, right now DSU's out for the summer. But maybe there be some college students in that, that we could train and say, authorize them, give them a ID and say, here's what we like done and at these residences and go and, see if we could speed the process up that way. Is that a possibility?
I'm open to anything.
I mean, the
Okay.
training.
Success is the ultimate goal, so.
Right, the training and knowledge, just to get them up to speed on their knowledge of.
Yeah.
The whys we're already,
Mm-hmm.
6 months away from,
Yeah, and that 6 months is gonna go fast.
right,
I'd rather have them pound the pavement now than.
That's where I'm at too. I'd rather see if we couldn't get someone and like you say, bring them up to the knowledge as to why and what to look for.
Just create a simple brochure and. hand it
Yes.
to them.
And then give them an ID, so when they knock on the door, the people know, here's what I'm for, because basically you just have to go down, look at it, take a picture of it and identify, here's what it is. No. It took me maybe 3 minutes to do mine, And so, if we could get some additional help, and give somebody an opportunity to spend a little time working for the city and that, I guess I would be for that.
Mike, would you have any seasonal workers that would be able to transition later in the, like September? I feel like September would be our crucial cutoff, then we're.
Most of the college kids go back in September, so.
Okay.
I mean, if you're gonna do that, you need to hire somebody in the near future, in the next one. Because they go probably middle of August is when we lose all of our seasonal staff.
Okay,
And you keep.
I did have
busy the
one
whole-
call
the whole
me
summer.
yesterday, I did have a kid call me yesterday that worked for me in the past, looking for a job.
Okay, you got his name and number, right? So. I'd say,
But you're gonna have to go through all the hiring of the equal opportunity and have
and
it
open the
posted.
position
all
and
that
a job
stuff.
posting.
Nothing goes fast.
That's
You're
a-
looking at 3 weeks at least.
don't you love government?
Unless we hired him as a seasonal for the park department or a season, I don't know how you can do it, I mean.
Nate and I can talk further.
That would be good. I would really appreciate.
I might have some that could do it, but I can't sacrifice them right now. I have my project that I have to get done too.
Okay, with that, I think we'll pivot to the 2024 communications plan. Savannah, I'll let you come up. Let me know what documents you want me to show on the screen.
I think we could go to this communications plan first, that's first on the.
I can be your van away for now.
Okay. Did everybody have a chance to look at the communications plan? I know it was quite lengthy. A lot of cities have more detailed, smaller places have skeletons compared to this, so it's kind of what we needed it to be. when I first came in, I met with all of the departments and kind of their communication liaisons and so whoever wanted to be involved and just kind of got a lay of the land and asked them what I could do to help, what we needed, what was going really well. And if you look at page 2, under the 2024 key findings of assessment, there was some items there that needed to be addressed. And I think a lot of them are being addressed within the communications plan, or we can in 2025. So I guess as we go through these things, I would like your feedback on maybe some changes that we can implement yet in 2024, but then looking into 2025, I think we've kind of determined that in January, we'll reassess and kind of redo or revamp or update the communications plan. So right now we should be looking at it already because those 6 months are going to go by really quickly. I know Jamison called attention to some of the KPIs and then the project list, so we won't go through a lot of the other things, but one of the things that we should probably point out is our target audiences. And for the communications plan, that's really everybody. We have internal and external. It's everybody from employees to potential residents to businesses. So the communications plan doesn't just focus on our residents or not just our employees, but it's really anybody with an interest in Madison in whatever capacity that interest could be. So we look at our communication focus areas starting on page 4. We want to have communication, trust, collaborative decision-making, good service delivery, and social cohesion. If we are able to focus on those things, then we can make sure that we're aligning with our strategic plan and giving our due diligence and communication to the best of our abilities. If we move to page 5, is where our KPIs are. So these could be moving. I kind of piece them together based on the projects at hand, the feedback that I received, and the strategic plan. Now, there's some of them that are tangible, noticed, or those are noted on page 5. Due to time limitations on some of these or the work capacity that it would take, we might have to either take them off or revise them come 2025. To note would be like 1D, event attendance. We could have a sign-up sheet for people to sign in on. We could maybe have somebody sitting at the door to try to take a head count, but things like that might be really hard to track. And media coverage, we have listed in here as well, number of press releases issued and media mentions. Media mentions might be hard because we'd really have to, I don't know, focus a lot of our time and energy on scouring the internet to try to count that. So just a heads up that some of those might change if you're okay with that. But intangible KPIs, they really go hand in hand with our brand, and our brand is our experience by all of our stakeholders. It's their perception, our engagement, the communication, all of those things that come together cohesively to create that experience for them. So to track growth in that area, in those intangible ways, we developed the communication survey, which will launch on July 1st. I did print out a copy of it. I know we didn't include it. It hasn't really been shared yet. So I'm gonna pass that around. It's not quite as short as our value survey by any means, but it should only take about 5 minutes or less to complete. So fairly short. I'm hoping for good engagement on that as well. And it'll be a little skewed because we've already started some of our communications initiatives, but I still feel that it'll give us a good baseline to move forward from in tracking our success.
Now, would this be an online only or would there be paper copies of paper? Very good.
Yeah. And we'll have them at like the community center, the library here at City Hall, just kind of areas that people could pick them up. Yep. Moving into the 2024 communication goals, again, those were considered against the assessment that I did when I first came in. So goal 1 was to improve the speed and clarity of information dissemination to stakeholders to ensure timely updates and high quality content. Goal number 2 was to develop and implement comprehensive branding standards and a strategic communications plan to ensure consistent and professional messaging across all platforms. 3 was to work collaboratively with the strategic plan steering committee to identify and address communication deficiencies, ensuring all stakeholder needs are effectively met. And 4 was to organize quarterly or more frequent meetings with the City of Madison information liaisons. During those meetings, we're going to begin next month. I will provide education on and review of brand standards, the communication plan, and KPIs for those individual departments. In a couple minutes, we'll look at some KPIs that I pulled for just the City Hall and the website to kind of give you an idea of what we'll review and how we can track progress there. Offer support and education on best practices to grow those KPIs. Ensure consistent and quality messaging across all platforms. You know, we had a good situation on Friday with the potential flooding issues, and we were able to work together as a team to get consistent messaging out, get our stakeholders focused on to our website where we could have a clear, consistent message coming out from all departments. And we had just over 1,300 website views on that page alone. So to me, that says success. There was only 830 some viewers on that. So people looked at it and then came back for those updates that we were providing.
What's a normal day?
On the website in general, I don't have that number. I could find out though.
No, just.
Yeah, that wasn't website traffic either. That was just that
One page.
one
Oh,
page.
one page.
Yeah, I had
Okay.
created a flood update June 2024 page. That way, as the PD was releasing information, or if utilities or anybody else needed to put those out, we're not relying on the Facebook algorithm to get it out to our residents, because as we all know, we can't trust the algorithm for timely dissemination of information. Ultimately, we want to direct all of our traffic to our website. We have complete control over that, and it just kind of showed on Friday that it was successful, or Saturday, I guess.
I think I'll just pause right there, because I think that's really important consideration that we are moving forward with, is that the website's gonna be the central platform for all city communication. So if somebody has a question or something goes through their mind on city related, the website is where we want them to start thinking, that's where I can find the answer. We'll still be using social media certainly, so we can outreach to residents, and so they can start to see things as well that they might not be thinking about. But that, we don't know when you post something on Facebook, when you're actually gonna start getting it to people. It could be a couple days before they see it. And then so that's where our text messaging alerts come in handy, where we can get them directly to somebody's phone immediately, so they can start seeing things that are more urgent and matter as well. All of those things, social media, the text alerts, they all direct people back to the website, which will be the central place for information. That's, I think, important for the community to know, for the commission to know, for everybody moving forward.
Then just the very last bullet point there for our communications quarterly meetings would be collaboration and brainstorming. You know, we'll have several information liaisons involved in that, and I think together as a team, we can really excel in our communications and address some things. You know, it can't always be a cookie cutter approach, because we have such diverse departments, and their needs and their service delivery are so different. So I think it'll help us all get on the same page. Any questions so far? The 2024 major project list, you know, it's been a wild 3 months. I've been here just 3 months and 2 days now, and a lot of these are completed, started. There's only a few that we haven't quite done yet. A lot of it is easy to get started, but then to figure out the nuances and the tiny little speed bumps, challenges, and figure out the workflow, that's where the real work will be in the next 6 months. So while we've got it completed, it might not mean that it's 100% efficient yet. Like the website, you know, where on the website do we put certain items, you know, like the June 2024 flooding page? Where would we put that? What are we going to do with that when this is over in 2 weeks and we don't have any more issues? You know, just the processes behind those things. So kind of I'll figure it out as we go.
You want to comment on the website redesign while you mention it?
Yeah, yep. So a couple things to note there. 6 to 9 months-ish, we will have a website refresh, and it will just give a new look and feel to the website, hopefully drive more engagement. We're going to look at, you know, what are our high traffic areas and move those to the forefront, and those buttons that we have. You know, if you hover over a button, does it illuminate? You know, just those things that kind of catch people's attention. in the time before that, we're working on content updates from different departments, just wording and making sure that things are simplified and they're put in the right places. So that user friendliness is part of that experience that our audience is having when they go to the website. We've made some changes already. We had a couple tabs at the top. One was labeled Our Community and one was Discover Madison or something, and they had a lot of synonymous information. So we switched one to a Stay Informed because we want to be engaged with our residents and our other stakeholders and give them information. That's where we have the flooding page right now. So hopefully we can continue to build on changes like that. Did that cover it, Jameson?
Yes.
Is that what you're,
So
okay.
is that something we can handle internally, or do we have a contractor with the website?
Civic Plus, so our contract with Civic Plus actually, so every so often allows us to refresh. So that's the discussions we're in right now. We're talking about.
No extra cost, it's just
Yeah.
included with our contract.
Nice,
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah. So our major project list, communications plan development and implementation, obviously this is complete, we'll revisit it, and as we go along this year, fine tune it and then see where we need to be early next year to implement the 2025 communications plan. Website enhancement, like I said, that's going to be an ongoing process for us, even after we get the redesign done, it'll be, people's communication just ever evolves, so will our website. Our Civic Ready launch in external and internal, that was our text message notification system, the mass notification system that has been implemented externally, as you all are aware. Internally, we have not developed that yet. Something that's in the works. We just kind of have to figure out details and how are we going to get employees opted in, and when or why would we use it for that type of thing.
Do we find employees logging into it on their own cell phones and rather than city too?
This would be the mass notifications that are sent.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
I'm not understanding your question. I'm sorry, sir.
Well, all of our employees, to my knowledge, and that have their own personal cell phones.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering, are they clicking in on it there so they're still getting what's going out on the text?
yeah, so I think a lot of our employees have registered for the external ones that get sent out to the
Mhm.
public. And so that's pretty great usage. A lot of new users we've seen on there as well. Internally, I think sometimes we find that our employees, especially we've got a large number of employees, they're just like the public. Some of them prefer communication through email, some of them prefer through text message. And so this would be a way that when we need to communicate with all of our employees quickly and simply, we can send out a text message just to our employees. So we can use it for some internal communication in addition to the external we've already been using it for.
A good example, when we had the First Amendment auditor in April come through, it would have been helpful. That way individuals, employees knew who necessarily weren't at their desk checking their email, just a heads up that this was going on and situations like that, maybe. Mobile app launch, we're getting ready to do that. Judd, I believe,
I was gonna talk about that today after I got back, so
okay.
got a few things we gotta polish up there, but yeah, that's looking pretty good actually.
Yeah, it'll be great. So what that looks like, the mobile app, when you open it, it'll have there's 6 or 8 buttons on it that will just directly link our viewers to pages on our website, like the Stay Informed or agendas and minutes, bid openings, that kind of thing. So that way you don't have to go onto your web browser on your cell phone to get to the same information. So we'll get that launched and ready to go here pretty shortly. Employee newsletter, that is something that we would like to do and haven't quite developed a timeline for that yet. I think we're still determining different ideas that we could incorporate and kind of, how often do we want to provide that? So more information on that will be available later. Brand standards guide development and implementation. As you can see, the brand standards guide is completed. We haven't quite implemented it yet. Later this week, I will share with the department heads a more in-depth view of the communications plan and the brand standards. And then beginning in July at our first communications quarterly meeting, I'll go over it with the information liaisons and we can then consider it completely launched.
I think I'll sidetrack here for a little bit because the brand is something that we sometimes get questions on. what's the city think about the logo or changing it up or doing something different? Sometimes I've gotten that question, and our staff stance at this point is that, we've got a logo and brand standards. We don't know that we've done a good job in the past of really establishing them so that they're clear and consistent across all city departments. So that's gonna be our goal here, is to have consistent and clear branding for our city. And if we ever were directed to look at rebranding, we certainly would do that. But at this point in time, we know that's a very large endeavor and often a very costly endeavor as well. And so it just isn't a priority for us to even investigate unless we're told otherwise. But I really like the brand standards that Savannah's come up with, which was included in the packet here, that provides employees with guidelines on what colors to be using and fonts and all sorts of logos and other things as well. This is kind of our effort at an initial branding, really coherent and clear messaging that we can use.
Yeah, and in the brand standards guide, it gives the reason for the brand guidelines, why do we need this, and creates that importance in people's minds, and then provides the objectives, resources, and then again, just the criteria, the different fonts and colors and things like that, different applications that we could use.
Yeah, any questions on the brand guide or branding? Not cattle branding, Mayor, just,
I was wondering,
okay.
I was wondering.
We could write it in. Next would be for me to develop a branded resources library and request system. Obviously, if we're going to develop strong branding and we have this expectation across all departments, our employees need resources. I do have this folder built out. We're just waiting to figure out the best way to implement it, launch it to our employees, and especially wait for that first communications quarterly meeting, so that way everybody starts on the same page. It'll have everything from PowerPoint presentations, letterheads, tips and tricks, kind of everything that you could think of, and then it'll also be an evolving place where as needs come up, the employees can request it, we can build it, and then put it in there for them. Education and support for information liaisons, like I mentioned, that'll be that quarterly meeting that we have where we'll review all of their department information and then just helpful resources for them. Develop social media policies and procedures. This has now been completed as of Thursday, Jameson?
Yes.
Yes. I guess to note there was, we have several different departments with their social media, their own accounts, and then website is actually considered social media as well. So in order to fully implement brand standards and a communications plan, we needed to have some administrative processes there. So that will be available also. It just got finalized on Thursday. So that'll be available during our next upcoming meetings as well. State of the City address event for 2025 and ongoing. Obviously, we're not there yet. We will be once we get into the new building, and we'll kind of work on a timeline for that. Get to know
So
your,
this is more of an event for it. Savannah attends research with other cities, and they don't just do a agenda item, but they do a whole event for what the state of the city looks like. I think long term, that's what we'll be looking for, starting in 25. It's still in our minds of whether we can do a smaller update this year, probably during commission meeting. So you might see that.
Used to do that prior, and it went up with the utility billing. But then, as a cost saving method from the finance department, it was dropped, I'm sure.
Yeah, so this would be something that we would look to start and likely evolve as we get more capacity and as time goes on. Good, yeah.
Yep. Get to know your commissioners, as if anybody saw Facebook this morning. Kelly was our next one up. We started with Sarah when she swore in, and we'll be kind of making our rounds. Just another way for our residents and other stakeholders to get to know you a bit better, to let you know what that process looks like. If you haven't been involved, I just will meet with you, ask you a bunch of questions, just get a feel for you on a more personal level, your approach to your role as a city commissioner. It'll go under your profile on the city's website. We'll do some social media, that kind of thing. Just opening up those doors and familiarity for stakeholders. Coffee with the Administrator, we'll start that this Wednesday, Java with Jameson, if you haven't heard. We're hoping to
Like the topic.
we're hoping to trial a few, see if it's something that our residents want. You know, if there's not much attendance, then we can say that we tried, and maybe it's something that we would pick back up again later.
I have gotten a lot of comments on it, and the comments said around time of day.
Yeah, we plan to have more than just the 8:30 one.
Yeah.
Starting with the morning one, and we can look at afternoon or other options. Try to do this 2 or 3 times and go from there.
Maybe beers with Barrett.
The evening could just Jameson with Jameson.
Hold on, let me write these down. Next is develop a crisis communications plan. I have a professional development conference in September in Arlington, Texas, and that was one of the topics that they're going to address. So I wanted to hold off on developing that until I'd been to that session. And then we can kind of go from there. You know, if we had any big flooding again or derecho, just having a formal plan in place, you know, would be super helpful for us as far as communications go.
And then just FYI, and that you can visit with a lot of our employees. Because typically in that, and we did open it up as an EOC the other night, and I stayed here till midnight, you know, in case people wanted to show up in that, but. With the Lake County Emergency Management, we have a county-wide plan, so go ahead and get a hold of Cody and Randy and that, and we've got a lot of expertise that'll give you some guidelines, you know, and then you can take it from there.
Yeah, great idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
City Hall open houses. I guess I kind of feel this might coincide too with the state of the city address. We would like to host some open houses, especially when the new building is completed, give a chance for stakeholders to come in and see the new facility, but then also feel welcomed and hoping to grow that social cohesion and your engagement a little bit more from there. Develop and launch the resident communication survey. Again, that'll be launched on July 1st. It'll be open for a couple of weeks. We will analyze the data, and then I do want to publish it out back to the city. That way they can see right where we're starting, and then kind of probably develop some education on, you know, where do we go from here, and let them know that we're going to do something with it, not just, well, here's what we found and not do anything about it. Assess ADA compliance and develop solutions for non-compliance. When I first came in, I learned that we need to have an ADA compliant website. So we're looking into that. I know one of the Civic Plus services involves ADA compliance, so we're looking into it. Also looking at things like the Google Translate widget on our website. That way, anybody who's non-English speaking can just go ahead and select their language. It'll translate the entire website. It will not translate PDFs or pictures or documents, that kind of thing, but at least everything else is. And for now, that'll be a great step forward. Implement Canva use to City of Madison employees and develop a brand kit templates and controls in Canva. So Canva is an online platform that we use to develop all of our creatives, from social media to print. Other digital platforms, we can create content in there as well. So Canva has the ability to create like a brand kit, which will help us in the brand standards. So I've kind of started developing that, and we'll be able to transfer that over to all of the other employees who are involved in creating content, and just be an easy tool for them. That way they don't have to try to find the color codes and the fonts and things like that. And last is to gather the baseline KPIs to track. It had taken some time to consider, what do we want to track? How do we track it? And I think we've got a good list going, and like I said, we'll kind of finesse that as we move along into 2024. Maybe there will be additional things that we need to look at, but, and like I said, maybe some that will drop. Any questions on that?
Just a comment.
Yeah.
You know, in the 4 years I've been here, where we're at right now is phenomenal. I just want you to know that.
Thank you.
This is really, the communication piece is outstanding. I think it's the one piece that we've really truly been missing is that outward push towards the public. So that people truly do understand what the city does. And that's gonna be huge. So really appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just this past weekend, it showed.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the communication was outstanding.
Thank you.
And then I'll try to keep it in mind of that when they have the next 911 Lake Emergency Management meeting, it'd be nice, you know. Then you get to meet a lot of the players, you know,
Yes.
and that work with that, and they meet quarterly, so. I'll try to keep that so that I let you know when that's coming up, because they meet right together, you know, so it's just basically one thing.
Okay. That'd be really helpful. Thank you. Jameson, I think we could pull up the metrics.
This is something that Savannah just put together since the agenda packet was put out.
So, you know, we talked a lot about KPIs and I like them, especially the tangible ones, because it does show us data-driven decisions and if they're effective or not. So when we look at the website on the next page and the data that's there, so I compared Q1 of 2024, which would obviously be January through the end of March, to only partial of Q2. I pulled this data through June 19th, so almost a full quarter, not quite. And as you can see, our website views are up by 26.1%, and the amount of users are up by 35.2%. And what I attribute that to is in our mass notifications, we're linking people back to our website for the information, and on our social media posts, we're linking people back to the website for information. And also just the more that we're putting out communication, the more interest that's going to generate, and people are going to seek out other information. So I anticipate seeing those continue to rise as we go through 2024. At some point, it'll probably level off. I wouldn't anticipate seeing these numbers grow so significantly all the time, but for right now, I think that's pretty awesome. You know, and that 1,353 views that we had on just the flooding website page over the weekend is a testament to the amount of traffic that our website garners. Next slide is Facebook. This is just the City Hall Facebook page. As you know, a lot of the departments have their own. In 2023, I want to go down to the bottom there, those two little sentences, the response rate. So that's when people are messaging us through the Facebook. Our response rate in 2023 was 25%, and it took us 13 hours and 51 minutes to respond to them. In Q2, our response rate went up to 57.1% and about 8.5 hours to respond. Now that does take after hours and weekends into consideration, which, you know, none of us, I don't think the expectation would be there for most departments to answer those messages because there's nobody here. But you can see just this little bit already, we've increased our engagement with our people on Facebook. And that's important because for some, that is how they reach out. That is how they want their answers or they want information. So looking at our impressions, that's how many times people have seen content from the City of Madison City Hall Facebook page. If you look at the dark blue, that was the entire 2023 year. Q1 of 24 is the light blue, and then Q2 was the red. So as you can see, we've had a significant jump from just Q1, and we are over halfway to what we had in 2023. I would say for this one and the others, the other data here, it's the amount of posts that we're putting out, which gives more impressions, the more press releases we put out. So then the Daily Leader and KJM are sharing those as well, linking them to our Facebook posts. That's all helpful in getting those impressions. Reach would be how many people that it got to all of this information. And then your content interaction. So that's your true engagement. You know, you can scroll through Facebook and you see a lot of different things, but that interaction is when people are engaged with us. They're sharing, they're liking, they're commenting, and that has almost doubled from 2023, and we're only in Q2. You know, that was just Q2 data. And then link clicks, again, that's going back to our website or wherever else we're driving them. And typically it is going to be our website. You know, that's up from just under 200 to just over 500 link clicks in the Q2. So a lot of significant positive growth there. And I only pulled the city hall one. I will review each departments with them, you know, during those communications quarterly meetings, just to kind of, you know, how can we move forward? What do we need to do? We haven't begun those, so I didn't feel that it would be fair to share everybody's data at this point.
No, very good.
That wraps up all the materials we have prepared for the communications.
Yeah.
What conversation or questions do you have?
Well, for a work in progress, I think it's really doing well.
Yeah, I guess I would just stress the importance of having a brand. I always think about our employee retention and trying to attract top talent. I think it's important in that aspect. And so I love this. I think it's great.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you.
We'll move on to, thank you, Savannah.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our final item for the discussion, which is an overview of the First Bank and Trust Sportsplex. We have had a few months of operations at this point. So we started kind of with a soft opening around the February, March timeframe where we allowed larger groups to use the building. And that was done with paper scheduling, I'll call it. And then somebody tell me, when did we release these Gym Master app? Was that?
You can see right there on March.
Would have been April, May, somewhere, March or April, you're thinking?
It's March.
So this is when we really started opening up to the public, and since then we've had great usage of the facility. So this shows a member graph, and note that member simply means user. Our Sportsplex isn't based on a membership format where people can pay for a membership for the year. It's based on usage each time, but each member represents each individual user. And so you can see as we got launched up here, it's gotten to be very busy, and we're just under 140 users or members is where we're kind of leveling off at now. Age, you can see in the bottom there, the biggest age group is the 36 to 45-year-olds. You can imagine a lot of parents bringing their kids in to utilize the facility. Is over half of the people who are in the app reserving the usage, the schedule. And then for bookings, this one shows them in a little bit. The different types of bookings that we've had. Red is cancellations. Note that we had some heavier ones in March because people were starting to book it before it was actually open. So then we had to reach out to them and cancel it.
Does that also include my testing?
Probably includes Jed's testing as well.
That's fine.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can see the batting cages, the archery is not up yet, but the batting cages and the turf are all shown in here with the biggest users being the batting cages for an hour. It seems like the biggest booking that is typically scheduled. And then financially, actually before I do financially, of course, archery is something that hasn't been opened. It is finalized now, so we're looking to roll out to the public announcement that archery is available in the facility, and you can start going to the Gym Master app to book, and that should be coming out very shortly. And that will certainly contribute positively towards the usage of the facility and the finances of the facility. Moving to finances, you can see the money received. Biggest month so far has been April, still very early on to tell, but April was a big month for people wanting to use that facility and bring in some revenue for the facility. The first page just had a very quick note of the finances. So year to date, the revenue's been just over $12,000 with expenses at 24,000. Seems like it's a pretty big difference. However, we know that there's always upfront costs that we need to incur to get things rolling. There's also a charge of about $9,500 related to property tax. We are questioning whether we should have paid that. So that may reduce the expenses by about $9,500 and bring it a lot closer as well. Otherwise, a lot of the expenses, of course, this year we also purchased it. So the 2024 expenses for the Sportsplex would be $70,000 higher than what's here shown here. This is just the operational costs that we're incurring so far. But otherwise, the dues and subscriptions for Gym Master is in there and different supplies and materials. At this point, we're looking forward to having the archery rolled out and seeing what kind of positive impact that has and what usage we see there. As a,
So that will be rolling out or what?
yeah, we've got all the pieces in place, just a matter of releasing those materials to tell the public that it's ready.
So that tab on the app will start working?
Yes.
or-
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, yeah, and open house, thank you. I was gonna forget that. Open house, we're looking at for July 9th, correct? Off the top of my head, July 9th from 4 to 6 p.m. So that people can come and go, check out the facility. Obviously, no cost or anything. This is our chance for the public to come see it if they haven't already. And we're gonna be doing a ribbon cutting at 4:30. 4 to 6, with the ribbon cutting at 4:30, otherwise it's come and go. As a reminder, you know, we got, I think the batting cages are the most popular, but the turf space is also used. We noticed that there's a golf space, which is essentially a third turf space that can be used for a golf net as well. And then the archery are the kind of main areas of the facility. Gym Master is the app that people can download to schedule, pay and gain access to the building, and that's been working very well. And as far as cost goes, it's, remind me if I'm wrong, here, $20 per hour on the batting cages and the turf. And then the archery will be $5 per lane per hour. Staff here, am I missing anything that they should be aware of or?
In archery, 2 shooters can shoot from 1 lane at a time.
There's how many lanes? 8?
More than that.
8.
Is there only 8?
There's 8 lanes, 2
Okay.
people per lane,
Oh, okay.
so it
Yeah.
could have up to 16 people.
Yeah, there you go. That sounds right.
So I got a question for probably one of you guys. Is the turf primarily being rented by softball and baseball, or is that somebody else?
I would say probably baseball and softball are.
Yeah, the high school golf used it in the beginning of their season, and they really liked it. Joey was really confident or really positive about it. Feedback was really good, but otherwise we haven't, it's mostly been teams,
Sure,
right? Also renting the turfs.
sure.
I would say that the batting cages are used more for individuals, like if you take your one son in or
Yeah.
daughter in. So,
And then aside from the open house and that, I have had a couple of people that have been in town that wanted to see it, you know, from a visitor standpoint and that. And, we said we would do that at a later date and that. Do we have a contact in that, for that?
Yeah, people just, everyone kind of contacts the community center and then they direct them to me and I get everybody in, however they need to
Sounds
get it.
good.
Yep,
Very good.
yep.
The signage looks great too. That was a really good addition to it.
The only comment that I had from a person who's colorblind was that in the word sportsplex, it's the same color as the building. And they had to drive over and get close enough to figure out what it really said. And so, and he has a little color blindness too, so I told him to check it out.
Yeah, I'm also of that type and I can read it just fine. So
Yeah.
it's still very clearly to me it says sports like. Yeah, the signage was something that First Bank and Trust had sole responsibility and authority over and they got Fox Promo in town to put together and they look really nice.
Yeah.
How the facility hold up, Mike? This past week? Yeah.
Actually, really well, we shut the sewer valve off just in case there was sewer backup. When they redid the bathrooms, we put a valve in there, so we did that. When the water started to back up, we shut it off so it couldn't backfill. We all know that there's probably some issues with the roof that we're kind of limited with the FEMA property right now, but we had 2 small leaks that we just put buckets underneath them. I mean, every time it rains, that's all we're gonna have to.
Yeah.
But it held up very well.
Yeah, as far as roof goes, we'll likely be looking at some kind of improvement in 2025 so that we can fix those leaks.
And from the standpoint of flooding, we came out so well compared to so many other towns. You know, we really did.
I think if there's another question in the sportsplex, that wraps it up, but if there's any final thoughts on any of our topics tonight, happy to continue the discussion.
Well, the sportsplex is definitely a hit. There's absolutely no question on that. You know, people that go in there and love it.
I would agree.
and it offers things that we couldn't offer in the city armory. It takes pressure off the city armory. You know, that's all huge.
They complement each other.
They do. Yes, they really do.
And the armory's on this app too.
No, it's not.
No.
I don't know if any staff have any thoughts on putting it on the app or not. I guess we haven't had that
It
discussion.
wouldn't be that difficult to do that, to be honest with you. There'd be some challenges in terms of the door access, but it's possible.
It's not the same door access system.
Well, you gotta be more protected, so you have to move the door access to the inside, you know, there are marine birds, I think it's on the outside now. But it's definitely possible.
Mike or Sam, I mean, with either, do you have any comments on potentially using the Gym Master app or the armory?
My only hiccup my thought has been First Bank and Trust paid, so our app is branded First Bank and Trust Sportsplex.
Oh,
Like
right.
they have their own logo on our app. It's not necessarily Gym Master, it's First Bank and Trust as our logo.
Yeah.
So with it being kind of separate facilities in that terms, we just have to work around that.
That's a good point. We'd have to figure out the best way of handling that would be.
It would be another instance of Gym Master, which the cost really isn't that bad there.
But it'd be for the user, it would be two separate apps, which I could see being somewhat annoying.
But if we follow branding and procedures, everybody's gonna dump into one page eventually anyways, right? So like if they clicked on Parks and Rec or whatever, it would dump into each facility and you could tag it from there.
In the app?
Sure.
No.
From the city of Madison. app.
In the city of Madison,
Oh,
or website, whatever they're doing, like the goal would be to be able to click there and they could go to whatever piece they're going to, they wouldn't even know that it's a different thing, per se.
I'd be all for something that's keyless, access spotless. Something that we can track a little better than having a laptop computer in a closet. For the armory, so you know who's sending their kids down there with their keys and all that good stuff for their fobs, and we deal with that on a monthly basis. People that aren't supposed to be in the armory that are. And everything else.
And there was a time we didn't know how many 100 keys were out.
Well, when they had keys, that's when it was really bad. They should just go to Ace and have 10 of them cut.
Yeah,
I think the basketball team had every.
just about every player seemed to have a key.
The really nice thing about Gym Master is that like you can book it, it's a 24/7 facility, so not that we necessarily want the armory to be that, but I mean, like any person doesn't have to you don't have to contact anyone to get into Sportsplex, like. As most of you know, you probably used it, you can get in at any time that you want to get in and self-access, and it's very accessible.
Is there a reason the armory shouldn't be 24
I
hours?
don't know, that would be your decision, not
I
up to
mean,
you guys, but I mean, that
security,
certainly
we'd
could
have
be.
to-
You just have to put cameras
Yeah.
on the same, it mimic the Sportsplex if we were gonna go that route.
I think the same considerations and policy.
I mean, in reality, after 11 o'clock, is it used much?
I know as the Sportsplex was getting built, they had high hopes for like usage at off hours, and we have had zero. We've had some 6 AM bookings, you know, people coming in, but other than that, even after 10 PM, I would say zero so far, but. We're just getting started. I mean, I really think 137 is just the tip of the iceberg of where it could go, so,
Right.
as far as users, so.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fairly easy to move towards using Gym Master at the armory and rolling that out with current hours and whatnot. And then after we maybe have a full year of the Sportsplex, we can take a look to see if it's worth looking at 24-hour access for another facility. Archery might be something that is a lot more individual. I could see maybe a worker at Manitou getting off a late shift and wanting to go shoot their bow for an hour before they go home or something like that. And maybe not, maybe we continue to get zero overnight usage and it's not gonna be a factor.
I think the open house will also engage a lot of people. We figure this usage is just based on word of mouth. So,
Yeah, who's been there so far? Yeah.
exactly. We're gonna see that number, I would say triple in no time.
I think your busiest months for the Sportsplex are probably gonna be March and April. Late February, March, April, for the baseball, softball aspect of it, depending on the spring. Then you're gonna see it fall off, and then you'll see it pick up in the fall for probably archery. I would say that people will be getting amped up in August and September with archery. And October, but I might be wrong.
And then, how many yards is the archery?
30. You can, no,
I think it's 20.
20 yards, 20 yards.
Is it only 20?
I think it's about 70 foot total. 20 far from you with one arrow. But, hence,
I don't think we're gonna allow you in there with the bow and arrow, like, I'm kidding.
I'll get the light, I don't worry about it.
If there's nothing else, that kind of wraps up what we had.
And I don't see anyone that wasn't here from the beginning, so I don't anticipate any public comment,
No public comment.
so. For that, any other questions in that, our open house is coming up, but our next regular meeting too for the commission will be July 1st, and then the open house, July 9th from 4 to 6 p.m. So, any other questions or comments?
We don't have the next planning meeting set, right?
We don't, and that's actually a great point. We probably could quickly decide when we want to do that. This is we could say the first month of each quarter or so. I think originally we were looking at, for the second Monday in July, for the second Monday of each quarter, first month of each quarter. I know that date didn't work for everybody, so we decided to move to this one, but we really can pick any date. If we feel the noon meetings fit well, I would say pick a second or a fourth Monday, just to keep it consistent. Any thoughts?
Pretty content with
I like that.
I like doing meeting, if we can do it.
Did you?
Okay, I'll probably just contact, use the commission in a couple months, could take a Monday, that works, makes sense. And if you like these and you'd like to do them more often, we certainly can as well, but at this point, I'll just plan on quarterly until I hear otherwise.
I think quarterly is good.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for being here. This is very good.